Hi, I'm Barnaby Hopkins and I've got something really exciting I want to share with you about a clinic right here in Mexico. Just meters over the border from the United States is one of the most progressive medical clinics in the world. Modest in comparison to the work being done here, the William Hitt Clinic is a safe haven for people from all over the world seeking relief from a wide array of illnesses, including autoimmune, viral diseases, allergies and drug addiction. The clinic makes no claims of curing disease. What it does do is work under the premise that the body has the ability to cure itself, given the right support. And you'll come to see that this is working outstandingly. The medical director of the William Hitt Center is Dr. Guillermo Figueroa, who opened the facility in 1994 to provide a much-needed service for Mexico, the US, and other countries as well.
In 1994, we established this clinic. And because we have the need to have something like that in places like Tijuana, which is a binational place because we have people from the United States and from Mexico. What we use here are one of the best things right now in science. So people from all over the world come because they hear about our success. We have people from experience here, even myself. Even myself, I am a member of the, almost founder of the Mexican Psychiatric Association. I've been working with the health department, being director of the psychiatric department in city hospitals in Baja especially.
We've met people here at the clinic who suffer from Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, to serious drug addicts who have traveled here from many different countries for one of the most effective treatments in the world. It's a bit curious that the site of all this progressive work in medicine is in Mexico, with people from everywhere converging on this one small clinic just minutes from the United States. They arrive with a varying array of illnesses, ranging from autoimmune disease, chronic depression, and allergies. There are those too who simply want to improve their immune response, energy levels, and general well-being. The therapeutic model used by Dr. William Hitt is to detox the body and strengthen and balance the immune system. This treatment plan for most patients includes several different protocols used for a variety of conditions. When asked why they come here to Mexico to be treated, the answer becomes obvious.
So I'd like to schedule an appointment.
There is perhaps no other single place in the world where such good medicine is being practiced. Many of the patients have already been to top medical facilities in the US and released with little hope of recovery. And in the United States, much of what is utilized here is not approved for use. Dr. William Hitt is simply an American doctor who wishes to practice good medicine, and in Tijuana, Mexico, he can do just that.
Every gene, though, good gene, bad gene, every gene in us is in us when we're born. So essentially, we are three systems when we're born: a genetic, an immune, and an endocrine. And those three, and now, through the rest of since the genetic thing is already in place, it's a question then of those two systems balancing. It becomes a mathematical equation that sooner or later, as the immune system drops, the genes are more exposed, that particular, whatever that person's susceptible to, is probably going to be triggered by a virus. And so we bring down the viruses.
Because of the stellar academic and medical credentials of Dr. William Hitt, the founder of the clinic, any anxieties that patients or their loved ones may have are quickly eliminated. Dr. William Hitt is a doctor of medicine and an international member of the Canadian, Mexican, and the American Psychiatric Association. He has received many awards during his career and has focused much of his work since 1982 on research and treatment with neurotransmitters for balancing the brain and restoring health. He and his staff constantly receive cards and letters from former patients who have found this clinic and its treatments nothing less than a miracle. The clinic also has other doctors on staff as well. Dr. John Hummerston is working closely in conjunction with Dr. Hitt and brings to the clinic another strong medical background with service as an officer in the US Navy.
Hi, it's lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you could describe some of the different protocols you use here at the clinic.
Well, we work with allergy. We do desensitization through antigen receptor vaccination. We work with virus, mostly chronic virus, which includes autoimmune, can include cancer and things like that. We work with amino acids for, again, mostly for drug use, which can be prescription, or drugs of abuse, but whatever the drug use might be. And then some people just have sort of brain dysfunction, obsessive compulsive, and it works for that too to varying degrees. And that's what we have been doing. And now we are also adding metal toxicity work. Many things your body's able to handle, get rid of. We can bring down the viral load. A lot of organic poisons you can eventually break down, metabolize. Metals are elemental and they won't change. And if they're in your body and they're a charged particle, they will look for a charged area where they can interfere. And metals are hard by nature for your body to handle. Even things like copper and iron that you use normally still are a problem. For example, 1 in 200 people has some degree of hemochromatosis, which is iron poisoning. Well, nobody can live without iron, and yet we're not able to handle it exactly right. So they get liver problems, pancreas problems, and a few people it's very severe. So metals are tough. Now those are the ones we're supposed to handle. Then when you look at things like aluminum or arsenic or mercury, these have no natural carrier systems in the body, so they can really just get in the wrong places. And mostly it seems that they interrupt enzyme cascades that would convert one sort of organic material into another, and they prevent your body from doing the things it would like to do. That may affect immunity, it may affect energy. You may not be able to make ATP, which is your energy molecule, so you always feel tired. There is research that suggests that it prevents nitric oxide and prostacyclin to form, which are the things that allow vessels to dilate, and so you are then perhaps asking for vascular disease, even a heart attack. And hence metal detox or chelation work has a great reputation with people who have vascular disease, diabetes, high cholesterol, a number of things. Dr. Hitt and I had met years before during my time in residency, actually with the Marines, when my wife became very ill with asthma. She had had asthma for several years, and we'd always been able to treat it through alternative methods and some of the standard medications, but we'd been able to keep her off of steroids. I was determined not to have her go on steroids because that's a one-way street. And so we attempted to do the usual things for her asthma, which became worse because of the weather conditions, El Nino in spring of '98. And she was not responding to what we usually did, which had always worked before. And then a very good woman put us in contact with Dr. Hitt's clinic and gave me a copy of the brochure. And I knew that from reading it that it had some potential. And I just had a feeling. And certainly we didn't really have any other alternatives. So we came down. She struggled across the border. She was not able to breathe the day we were here.
His wife was about to die, and she had asthma, and they were running to the hospital two or three times a week, particularly at night, with her with the asthma.
And Dr. Hitt said, "That's all right, we'll take care of that." And about 15 or 20 minutes after her first injection, she was breathing a lot better. And I had to admit that through my medical training at that point of 5 years, I had no idea why she was better. And it was very mystifying to me and intriguing at the same time. And I knew there was a lot that my regular medical training had not prepared me to understand, and this was one of them. And this is obviously very important.
The treatment for drug addiction, both prescribed and recreational, is the use of amino acids, the very building blocks of life, occurring in every human being. Amino acids are delivered intravenously for approximately 10 days. For most drug addicts, during those 10 days, all cravings for drugs disappear and the patient is detoxed. Years of drug abuse and mental confusion, anxiety, and feelings of hopelessness can be alleviated. What the drug addict often describes as a sense of massive emptiness with panic attacks and agitation that occur with the detoxification process does not occur here. The neurotransmitters of the brain are fully repaired and the patient will feel bright and enthusiastic without any cravings in just a matter of days. Although the former addict will still need support, this treatment seems to be the most progressive and effective in the world. What separates the amino acid treatment from everything else is that the neurochemistry of the brain is rebalanced. In doing this, it eliminates craving, which allows the patient to put all their energy into making the necessary changes in life for a full recovery.
In our amino acid treatment, because fortunately we only have a handful of neurotransmitters that we're really dealing with, and there's quite a few, but I mean basically we've learned to choreograph these pretty much so that really in 10 days we can really cure just about any addiction that anyone comes in with. When we get off of a drug, or when we're put on a drug, we really don't know what that drug is going to do to that specific individual. The iatrogenic, or the doctor-prescribed drugs, that's on the rise. As we're coming up with more and more drugs, and we're treating more and more people for everything and every assortment of just problems, ADD and things like that, it's increasing profusely the amount of iatrogenic problems. So I would say 40% of the people I'm working with right now are iatrogenic. Now, quite frequently, in fairness to my colleagues, I mean, I would say this, that many of the iatrogenic drugs become abused. They're not used as prescribed.
I went down there for other reasons and saw that there were people getting this amino acid supplementation, and I said, well, what's this about? And they were drug addicts, basically. There were several drug addicts who were on cocaine and heroin. There were some people with eating disorders. There was a medical doctor who was addicted to pain pills. These people all sitting around in a nice little room getting their amino acid supplementation, and all of them were going off of their drugs painlessly without any side effects, and at the end of their program they had no cravings for drugs, no cravings for cigarettes, no cravings for their pain pills, no cravings for food. And I was blown away. So I said, well, I don't have any serious addictions, but can I try this therapy? And I did that therapy, and it blew my mind. Nothing has affected me more profoundly than getting that amino acid supplementation. Suddenly my brain woke up and said, this is how you're supposed to be. And I had more energy and more focus and more motivation than I've ever experienced in my life. And it wasn't like some high. It was just being normal. I didn't even notice that I was that different. It was my wife who pointed out how tremendously different I was, because I was suddenly doing so much more around the house and in my life and in my work, and just the creativity that started coming into my life after my brain started functioning normally. And my brain is always functioning at a very high level, but suddenly I was using my full potential because I was getting all the amino acids into my brain, which my brain was needing. Besides the millions of people that are on psychoactive drugs like Prozac, there's also millions of children who are taking drugs like Ritalin, which stimulate the production of dopamine in the brain, which is basically due to deficiencies in our nutrition. But to be able to help a child hit that breakthrough immediately and come back to normal brain functioning, amino acid supplement is the fastest methodology you could find. And this is not just for adults, but parents can bring their children and get breakthroughs immediately with their children.
We're having extremely good luck. We've treated now maybe 9,000 patients with amino acids.
My story was the subject of a BBC documentary on the amazing successes Dr. Hitt's having here in Mexico. People leave his clinic each week drug-free, with improved immune systems and a happier outlook on life. I know because about 4 years ago I went to see Dr. Hitt. I weighed 98 pounds, I had hepatitis C, my viral load was 7.4 million, I had a serious crack and heroin addiction. I was on my way out. He wasn't sure whether it was going to be the drugs or the hep C that was going to kill me. My liver was so compromised that I simply couldn't metabolize any fat. I'd break out into fever-like symptoms and sweat. I woke in the morning with chronic joint pains, vomiting, and serious depression. I thought I'd tried every single treatment plan there was to try out there. I tried rapid detox, sleep detox, naltrexone, methadone. What he did was rebalance my brain neurochemistry using amino acids. Cravings for me were eliminated. And then with the hepatitis C, he used ozone. And now I have a viral load that is undetectable, and I'm drug-free. Dr. Hitt also expanded his research and subsequent treatment protocols with ozone therapy well over a decade ago. It is a key part of immunology offered at the clinic. Here, testing and balancing of the body's own immune system is an essential part of many treatment plans. Ozone therapy has been used very successfully in Europe for decades, but is not a generally used therapy in the United States. People often travel to the Hitt Wellness Center here in Mexico for a combination of ozone and amino acid therapy. Together, they're a powerful duo for returning many patients to complete health.
The oxygen that goes into the blood with ozone therapy kills the viruses on spot. So these viruses are being killed and wiped out, and they're going out of my body, and then the next day I must have felt 20 years younger. And suddenly I'm like 15, 20 years younger. Cannot believe how quickly that was. And he said, you know, for years, movie stars and different people were coming to get the ozone therapy, and it was very expensive then. It wasn't the common person couldn't get it. But now anybody can get it. It's a, you know, they got the system down, they got the machines down. It's a very efficient process. The tremendous benefit which is immediately available to people through this program is unbelievable.
There's been hundreds of papers published on ozone in Germany. You could just go to any reference library of a medical school and punch in on that, and you could, you know, there's everything under the sun. And there are about 4,000 or 5,000 German doctors using ozone. I mean, it's not a rare thing over there. And again, we have to, again, looking at saying, usually Germans are rather first-rate scientists. And so, you know, we'd have to think that they were all pretty crazy to be doing something that didn't work. So now, we use microscopy to actually guide us with the ozone. Now, other people in Germany, they don't do that, but now I have people from all over the world coming in and starting to do microscopic work with their ozone. The other thing is having a dosimeter on your ozone machine so that you can actually calibrate the percentage of ozone that you're putting out. So now what we have then we have to go by the tolerance of each individual and what amount they will tolerate. Obviously, if somebody will tolerate more than where the governor would be on the German machine, and you can actually put that in them safely, you get a better die-off. And so this is why the microscope has got to be the guider. And basically it's no different. I look at the microscope in this case, it's no different than looking at an automobile with an odometer or a gas gauge. And again, we could certainly drive the car without an odometer or a gas gauge, but we wouldn't have the foggiest idea how fast we were going, and we wouldn't know when we were out of gas. And this would be very awkward. And so the same thing is true with the ozone. But the cytology basically makes the ozone, you know, it actually lifts it into a very, very, very beautiful diagnostic procedure. It's a gas molecule. When it goes into a liquid like blood, there's immediate diffusion. There's nothing, any chemist knows that there's nothing that diffuses better than gas into liquid. It goes throughout the entire body where the bloodstream goes within a matter of a few seconds. It's completely covered the entire body and killed everything that has a nucleic acid base in front of it. It cannot harm normal cells because every normal cell actually is bound by different enzymes and amino acids and things like that protect it against the ozone. Particular amongst those being catalase, superoxide dismutase, which are both enzymes, and glutathione, which happens to be an amino acid. And every normal cell in our body is surrounded by these chemical substances, and ozone cannot penetrate that. What we're really doing is trying to work in symbiosis with the medical community. I'll give you an example. If someone had a tumor, a cancer tumor, the ozone wouldn't even penetrate it. So I need someone to work on the tumor, but then after they work on the tumor, they kind of like could use me a little bit to kind of make sure that there's not a metastasis and a spreading around of stuff, because now at that low level of say single cells and stuff that's out there, we already know that the person's genetically susceptible to whatever they've got. They've already got it. So basically, this is the time to start giving them some ozone. So if we can sort of basically even treat them a little bit after the chemotherapy. To be very frank with you, I don't know of anybody that I've seen that we've treated with chemotherapy, I mean, who's been treated with chemotherapy that we've used ozone on, who has come down with a secondary cancer, or where and that's very common in cancer. So it has a, so what it would be nice is teaming up and working with both ends of this, you know. I mean, instead of saying it's the absolute one way or another. But now, in medicine, everything is symptomology. You treat a symptom. You treat a symptom like in a case of a cancer, you can understand a person going in and taking out a tumor, or hitting it with chemotherapy, or hitting it with radiation or surgery. But it's impossible to just go get a tumor and not have something spreading around to other areas of the body. So quite often you will see people who it will start going to the liver, or maybe to the brain, or or to the lung, or whatever in the body it chooses to land. These cancer cells are like little sticky cells, and they just kind of land on organs, and quite often, you know, with willy-nilly. It's now the ozone will, at that level, is very effective against those cells. The chance of triggering genes becomes more likely, but the higher the viral count, the more likely you have of triggering a faulty gene, or a gene that we've inherited. For every million cells we make in our body, one of the cells will mutate. A mutant cell in a human being or in any other animal is a cancer cell. It's that simple. But we have natural killer cells that scavenge around and wipe out the cancer cells. You know, if our immune system is working correctly. If our immune system is not working correctly, then the cancer, maybe a virus or something, triggers a gene, and that individual would come down with cancer. So viruses play a very, very important role in this too. Sooner or later, as the immune system drops, the genes are more exposed, that particular, whatever that person's susceptible to, is probably going to be triggered by a virus. And so we bring down the viruses. What we're really doing in the case of the antigen receptor vaccine is removing antigen receptors from a person, and this is done pretty much at random, because there's no way to just say go after a specific antigen receptor, because there's 200,000 on each lymphocyte, and on every T4 cell and every B cell. So assuming that since all of these cells are going through the kidney, you're getting large numbers of these are being bombarded off, because they're all on the surface of the lymphocyte. And so maybe 2% off of each lymphocyte are going into the urine and would be expelled as waste. Now, interesting enough that if you took 2% of 200,000, which would be one lymphocyte, then multiply it times the total number of lymphocytes going through, and assuming also that the kidney pumps 7 times more blood than any other organ in the body, you know, you're going to get a heck of a lot of antigen receptors in the urine. So urine, we use urine only because it's easy to filter. You could take antigen receptors out of the blood, or you could isolate the lymphocytes and remove it. But here we're dealing with something that doesn't have a very labile, meaning they don't have a very long life. These little protease, or these little antigen receptors. So if we have to deal with them very quickly. It's very simple to take a urine sample And within just a few seconds, we can inject them by using, say, a filter that allows only these small antigen receptors to go through, injecting that into adipose tissue so that we have the adjunct, which is the fatty acid cells needed to make an antigen-antibody reaction. And so in a sense, then what we're doing is making an anti-receptor antibody against whatever is bothering the individual. So, but this would also make anti-receptor antibodies against interleukin receptors or interferon receptors or whatever other type of receptors are in the body. And these are antiviral replicators. So this will also help keep down that viral number.
I have chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, and I was totally over-medicated with traditional medicines. My immune system was totally shot, and my ATP was really low. Before I first came, I was bedridden for approximately 18 months. I never left my house, and when I came to the border, came to Mexico, I was so ill I had to have a driver bring me back and forth. But within 10 days, I was substantially better. And within 20 days, I was walking, going out to eat, going to plays, and having a wonderful time.
I came to see Dr. Hitt about 2 years ago with a diagnosis of hepatitis C. And I went through conventional therapy of alpha interferon. Within the 9th week, the interferon therapy failed. Even taking massive doses of it, 10 million units a day, the viral load count stopped declining. It leveled off and it began to rise again. And later I became symptomatic, elevated liver enzymes, jaundice, fatigue, rashes, with no other type of treatment available. My MD sent me here. And since I came here, I am not symptomatic. I'm a much happier person, a much healthier person, and I'm going to continue to come here, and I'm going to stay that way.
I had allergies that were just so great as far as with the head and in the ear ringing and in the stomach, and even with bothering me how I ate. It was terrible. So I came to Dr. Hitt, and he's just my angel. That's all there is to it. He's helped me. I don't have to take any medications, nothing. And it's wonderful. I feel great.
Well, at the William Hitt Center, I've experienced tremendous, just a feeling of well-being, of being around other people, listening to interesting stories from people from all walks of life. And it's not like a rehab or where it's a feeling like you're at a hospital or anything. It's more like a family unit of people that you come to meet, and then you come to expect a certain level of support just from being around other people that have gone through similar experiences, even different experiences, but who can relate to my problems in a non-judgmental way.
I came here to the Hitt Center a couple of months ago because of severe allergies, and since I've been coming, I'm no longer allergic to perfumes, household products, in fact, dust or anything anymore. I've received the ozone treatment, the antigen shots, the vitamins, and the amino, and it's been tremendously successful for me.
I awakened one morning with a terrible disease called shingles. Went to a medical doctor in LA who could do nothing for me except the prognosis was 6 to 8 weeks of pain, no real treatments except drugs. Came to Dr. Hitt, and within 5 to 7 days. The 3rd day, the swelling went down. The 4th day, everything cleared up, and it was exactly what people would call a miracle, because I had no residual effects, no drugs, no nothing, entirely different from what the LA doctor said. And I'm so grateful to him, and because of the ozone treatments that he gave me. In addition, I also noticed that my energy level is tremendous. I mean, it's just much higher than it was. I've always known to have enough energy, but this is a far cry from before. I do a lot more, and I'm much happier, and I feel healthier, cleaner.
I came to the clinic because I had heard from my boss about it many times. He had experienced the treatment years ago and has been alcohol-free for all this time. And I myself had developed a problem with alcohol, and he thought that it would be really good for me, and I came to believe the same. And once I got here, I was really happy with what I heard about it, and I was very happy with the beginning results, and I feel quite comfortable here, and am feeling wonderful already, and more importantly, I feel really confident about the results.
I came here primarily as a cancer follow-up, and I had had cancer years ago, and I wanted to make sure that my health and my immune system was as strong as possible. I came here after that initial visit because I got a very bad tooth infection because of a root canal that had gone bad in Northern California, and the infection spread to my jaw, and then from there it was spreading to my brain. And I didn't realize that the headaches and the vision problems were as a result of that. I knew I was having some toothache, but without a nerve in the tooth, I didn't know what was causing it. And then when the pain got to my jaw, it was pretty serious. So I saw the dentist here that Dr. Hitt recommended, and between that and Dr. Hitt's ozone treatments and the vitamin mineral pushes and the amino acids, we were able to take care of it. While I was here, I had a chance to meet a number of other patients who were here for various things, from addictions to cancers to macular degeneration to just numerous things that we all hear about in the news. And every one of them was having great success.
When I came to the clinic, I had been suffering from long-term use of alcohol, and I was very tired and frustrated and experiencing a bit of fear and anxiety in my daily life. Wasn't eating properly and was basically just exhausted. And so fortunately I found out about the clinic and came here and stayed at the Pueblo Amigo and did the 10 days, and by the 8th, 9th, 10th day was very content and happy and experienced like clarity and sense of ease that I haven't felt since, say, childhood, I would say. It's been approximately 4 years since I had my treatment here at the Hitt Center, and I was so excited about it that I decided to help with the center and provide a place to stay for people to stay at while they're doing their treatment. The name of the residence is Casa Aloha, and it's a very casual communal atmosphere which promotes interaction with other people from the clinic, provides meals and transportation to and from the clinic that helps enhance the experience here at the center, and helps implant the roots for continued sobriety when leaving Mexico. I think this kind of support is extremely important for people trying to come off the drug and alcohol addiction.
Dr. Hitt has been able to successfully treat many conditions here at the clinic, and the reason that I know that is because I have referred so many people to him, friends and family, and then they refer so many people to him. I mean, we're talking about conditions such as myself, like asthma, we're talking about multiple sclerosis, we're talking about macular degeneration, we're talking about allergies, I mean, severe allergies. People have had them for years. No one's been able to help. And he's been able to successfully treat them. And PMS, of all things. I mean, you would think, oh my gosh, PMS, how can that? He's been able to treat so many conditions.
In any given year here, probably there will be as many as 80 to 100 different doctors that will come here to train in various techniques and various things that we're doing. And then countless numbers of other scientists and other people interested in well, maybe amino acids or other things too, that are not the MDs. We get a number of other health field specialists, as well.
The location of the clinic, just minutes from San Diego, makes it quite convenient for people who are flying in from all over the world to be seen by Dr. Hitt and his staff. Hotels are relatively inexpensive and convenient, and patients who stay over for several days to a week or more find it a break from the normal stresses of life. There are a number of hotels located close to the William Hitt Clinic. This one, the Hotel Pueblo Amigo, in our opinion, is one of the best. It's only 2 to 3 minutes walking distance from the clinic. It's safe, it's secure, it's affordable. It has special rates that have been organised by the William Hitt Center for those patients attending the clinic. And what the clinic have done is they've organised it so that the patients who are actually attending the clinic and staying here get a 50% discount. There's bottled water in the rooms, HBO, and 24-hour room service. The restaurant has excellent food. The service is superb. The front desk all speak English and make you feel very much at home. And as you can see, the surroundings are absolutely beautiful. I'm Barnaby Hopkins, wishing you great health and happiness.
A San Diego doctor says 95% of alcoholics never quit drinking long term.
But what if there is a new treatment allowing alcoholics and drug addicts to kick their habits?
You just might find it south of the border. WB News at 10's Brian Black investigates in tonight's cover story.
Heroin, crack, speed, pot, alcohol, and tobacco all are very addictive. I spoke with a man who says he has a radical treatment that can help addicts kick all these habits.
Okay.
Yeah. Michael Codman is sick, but the Carlsbad resident is getting help, one drip at a time. For the past 15 years, he's been stumbling through life one drink at a time.
A fifth of whiskey every day, maybe even a little bit more than that.
Michael has graduated from 5 detox centers in the States. None have worked. He now believes he's found a miracle in Mexico.
By the second day, the cravings started to go away. And well, today is my 4th day. I have no cravings, which is amazing.
Dr. William Hitt says it's not amazing, it's just science. For 50 years, he has studied human cells and how drugs affect them. He worked on a team that won the Nobel Peace Prize and has numerous other awards. The American doctor set up his Tijuana clinic in 1994 because he didn't want to waste time dealing with red tape.
I wanted to really just get to work on something that I knew had a very strong basis and also something that could not harm anyone.
The secret is in this bottle. It's a mixture of amino acids. Dr. Hitt says the solutions, which are all natural, restore balance in a brain polluted by drugs, alcohol, or tobacco.
We have treated several thousand alcoholics over a period of years. Do you know, we have never seen a withdrawal.
Michael knows his problems aren't solved when he leaves this clinic, but feels with Dr. Hitt's treatment, he has a fighting chance. I talked to Michael this evening. He is finished with the treatment and feeling great. He and all of Dr. Hitt's patients still must attend alcohol or drug anonymous meetings to deal with the psychological side of the disease.
Last night, we introduced you to a doctor who is treating drug and alcohol addicts. He has an all-natural therapy that he says cures 70% of the patients he sees. Tonight, WB News at 10's Brian Black shows us what happens when the patients leave the comfort of the clinic. Brian.
On Tuesday, you met Michael Codman. He's an alcoholic and trying to kick the habit. He's been through 5 detox centers, but says he had to go to Mexico for a treatment that works. For the first time in a long time, he's not craving a drink.
For somebody who's been drinking that much, to go through such a radical change in such a short time, it makes you feel incredibly good.
Dr. Hitt says the amino acids take away the cravings for drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. But the all-natural solution is the first step.
This is just the beginning. This is just 10 little days out of life. Really, then you've really got to work on the psychological ramifications and what caused this whole process in the first place.
Father Robert Corneliuson is a licensed counselor. Many of the patients in this clinic are referred here by the Laguna Beach priest. Once they leave and return to the States, he continues to counsel them. Father Corneliuson says in 30 years of addiction medicine, he's never seen anything like this.
And I've brought people down here who couldn't walk, who were so toxic from alcohol, and then see in just a few days complete recovery.
Last night, we went out to one of my favorite restaurants where they have a bar. I didn't have any desire to go to the bar. It was really a relief.
We are going to follow Michael's progress. We'll have an update for you in a few months. Now, for 15 years, both UCLA and the University of Texas have done research on amino acids therapy. Dr. Hitt says that's the problem with the U.S. Research takes forever, and people don't get the help they need. Now, for more information on this story, go to our website, kswbtv.com.
Barnaby Hopkins has struggled with hardcore drug addiction for more than 20 years. The 36-year-old user says he's traveled the world trying every treatment and detox program available, but as dramatized in his public service announcement, the horrible pain of withdrawal forced him back to old habits. At just 95 pounds, Barnaby finally hit rock bottom. That's when he discovered a newly recognized drug and alcohol treatment in Tijuana, Mexico, where this man is selling an intriguing new therapy. He says your addiction can be beaten painlessly and with minimal withdrawal in just 10 days.
The word is craving, because if you could knock out craving, then you have somebody that you can work with.
Dr. William Hitt is combating the craving by attacking the genes. He says if there's any type of addiction, be it alcohol, drugs, even gambling in your family history, it's likely you too will be an addict. Hitt believes people prone to addiction are born with damaged neural receptors, the part of the brain that carries messages to the body. So he's developed a therapy he says physically repairs those receptors. It's called neurotransmitter restoration, or NTR, an all-natural cocktail of amino acids and vitamins, administered intravenously over a period of 10 days.
Once the neural receptors are brought back into balance, into proper balance, the addiction aspect of the problem goes away.
But if it sounds too good to be true, just listen to patient James Whitby.
Nice. I never thought I was going to be clean, ever.
When James Whitby entered Dr. Hitt's program, his veins were so deteriorated from heroin use, they had to insert a catheter in his chest to administer the IV. That's when he says something amazing happened.
And then the cravings went after like 2 days.
This is not a cure. This is basically a control mechanism.
Dr. Hitt has treated more than 6,000 patients and claims a 70% success rate. He's made believers out of Barnaby and James. They both say they're now drug-free and agree sobriety is possible.
This is no cure against using. What it gives you is the clarity of mind to be able just to deal with situations and start growing.
Well, Dr. Hitt's treatment is not available in the U.S. yet. He and other American doctors are taking steps to get approval here in the States.
He's done crack cocaine, he's done cocaine, he's done every kind of pharmaceutical, every kind of pill you can imagine.
A Slidell dad says his drug-addicted son completely went clean after meeting with a miracle worker.
The treatment struck us as almost unbelievable. Many of the doctor's patients call him a miracle worker. Amino acids, which are the body's building blocks for healthy cells, are given intravenously. Dr. William Hitt says he has watched thousands of patients walk out of his clinic and out of the brutal grip of addiction.
How many?
Tijuana, maybe 3 minutes walking distance south of the border. It seems a most unlikely setting for a cutting-edge drug addiction clinic just a few hundred feet away. On the 4th floor, a gentle 74-year-old doctor looks into a microscope. His results will dictate precise amounts of different intravenous amino acids for a full range of drug addicts. No matter what the addictions, Dr. William Hitt says most will walk out of here after 10 days, clean and without a craving.
I was shocked.
Like a new person.
New person, yes.
Most patients say this man is the miracle. William Hitt is an American with a stunning resume. He is a doctor of medicine and surgery, most of all a scientist. When the addict walks through the Hitt Center doors, blood samples are taken and a history of every single drug the patient has ever used, from crystal meth or heroin back to their first puff of a cigarette.
We don't want to know just the drugs that they're using just right now. We want to go back because we assume that probably all the drugs that they have used has affected different neurotransmitters.
Here's how it works according to Dr. Hitt. Drugs and alcohol damage chemicals or neurotransmitters in the brain, ultimately creating a craving for the substance. Dr. Hitt says the addict's damaged neurotransmitters are repaired with pure amino acids, no chemicals. After a 10-day IV drip, Hitt says the chemical imbalance disappears, and so does the craving. At 16, Benjamin Cohen of Slidell started experimenting, and for the next 10 years, his addiction spanned the depths of hell. Melody and Bill Cohen are his parents.
Everything except heroin. He'd done crack cocaine, he'd done cocaine, he'd done every kind of pharmaceutical, every kind of pill you can imagine. And he was up to taking 60 Valium a night.
Through 10 years of checking into the top rehab centers in the country and white-knuckle detox attempts, Benjamin always made the loyal return to addiction.
If you knew the heartache that my wife and I have had, Judy, for 10 years in trying to help our son.
Last Thanksgiving, Benjamin was dragged by his father to the William Hitt Center. This is Benjamin's after photo. He has been sober since November.
Within 3 days, he'd quit smoking. He also quit drinking. He quit every drug. He's been clean ever since.
You have certainly noticed by now the Cohens also have IVs. After the miracle of Benjamin, Bill and Melody returned to Tijuana 2 weeks ago to get rid of their own cravings.
I can't believe I actually smoked cigarettes for 45 years. Now, it seems to me the stupidest thing in the world.
Bill says he lost his craving for nicotine and alcohol on day 2 of his IV treatment. Melody says her proof came on day 3, when after treatment, a few patients went out for dinner.
We all sat and had dinner, no drinking. I told them about mid-meal. I said, by now I'd be looking for the waiter saying, where's that third glass of wine, you know?
Dr. Hitt says some of his patients failed with up to 20 rehab attempts before coming here. Bill Cohen tried other programs for his son and his own addictions. Those withdrawal symptoms were agonizing. This is day 8 for Bill on Dr. Hitt's IV amino acids.
I feel great. I feel really wonderful.
In fact, when a patient comes to the William Hitt Center with a full-blown heroin, cocaine, or alcohol addiction, Dr. Hitt says, and the patients say, the withdrawal symptoms are minimal, if any at all. Here's how it works according to Dr. Hitt. Drugs and alcohol damage chemicals or neurotransmitters in the brain, ultimately creating a craving for the substance. Dr. Hitt says the addict's damaged neurotransmitters are repaired with pure amino acids, no chemicals. After a 10-day IV drip, Hitt says the chemical imbalance disappears, and so does the craving.
Well, essentially, amino acids are the building block of every cell and every protein in our body.
Well, when Dr. Hitt realized he could totally eliminate an addict's cravings with IV amino acids, he knew he could start helping people immediately in a country like Mexico and probably avoid years of delays on U.S. soil.
The people, and we're talking about people with the clout of medical schools in certain areas of our country that were doing the initial research, are still at the same level that they were in 1984.
Bluntly, Hitt suspects if he had continued this research in the U.S. in the 80s, medical bureaucracy, double-blind studies, even egos probably would have prevented anyone from getting this treatment for decades.
I just wanted to work. I was an old man.
Remember, Dr. Hitt stresses IV amino acids wipe out only the cravings. Every addict who walks out of these doors clean is recommended to a counselor, psychotherapist, AA, or a comparable program. Dr. Hitt agrees that without constant attention to the emotional pain in the heart and soul, a trip back to the torture of addiction is almost certain.
It is a vicious illness, a vicious illness.
Paula Norris has been a licensed psychotherapist in New Orleans for 20 years. She has sent 12 of her clients to Dr. Hitt and says 8 of them remain clean and sober with continuing follow-up therapy. The other 4 have not returned to Norris for critical counseling.
learning new skills, learning how to manage stress so that they don't relapse.
She can only assume those 4 have fallen back into addiction's fierce grip.
I have seen, since 1980, so many lovely, wonderful, beautiful people suffer and their families suffer.
Paula Norris would like to see such a clinic in Louisiana or Mississippi and add to the program that critical psychotherapy that major U.S. rehab centers offer. Right now, it is only here, says Dr. Hitt, that hardcore addicts from all over the world are able to escape cravings, the nightmarish withdrawals of detox, and the all-too-often return to the torment of addiction. The 74-year-old scientist, Dr. William Hitt, in his lifetime, would like to see his neurotransmitter restoration offered worldwide. A huge dream.
We've come a long way in our battles against disease, but the war is far from over. Illnesses ranging from malaria to flu still defy the doctors. And one of our deadliest modern afflictions, drug addiction, still shows little sign of yielding to treatment. In the developed world, the success rate for addicts averages just 12%. But now a new breakthrough promises a brighter future.
It's a Sunday afternoon at LAX International Airport, Los Angeles. Barnaby Hopkins is here to meet an old school friend he hasn't seen in 5 years. But this isn't to be a fun-filled holiday, reminiscing about old school days, because James is a drug addict. In the last 18 years, he hasn't been clean and sober for more than a few days at a time. Now, 32, he's reached the end of the road. It's a story that's all too familiar to Barnaby. Until last year, he was just like James. But now, thanks to a miraculous new treatment, he is clean and sober.
All I knew is this doctor in Mexico was doing this new treatment. I mean, what I was doing before I arrived there, I was lying all the time and I was stealing as much as I could to get whatever it is I needed to get. And within 3 days, that kind of thinking changed. The highs and the lows and the panic attacks and the depression, I didn't have to go through any of that. For me, it was like a, I hate to use the word miracle, but it was just like a miracle. And I believe it can do the same for James.
Offered a simple, withdrawal-free way to come off drugs, James packed his bags and headed for Mexico. But first, the two friends have some catching up to do. On admittance to the clinic, the first hurdle James has to overcome is to document fully his drug usage.
I'm going to go through now a bunch of drugs one at a time.
Yeah.
And again, I just want you to be as accurate as possible. Yeah. How old were you when you first started drinking alcohol?
6 or 7.
When did you last use heroin?
I used heroin just before I came out here.
So that would have been...
I had a last night binge.
Saturday?
Yes, Saturday.
Cocaine. How old were you when you first used cocaine?
About 16.
It's important that James lets them know exactly what he's taken, for this is no ordinary 12-step program or rapid detox or replacement drug therapy. The treatment in this clinic relies on restoring brain chemistry and repairing each and every neurotransmitter that James has damaged. It's the pioneering idea of Dr. William Hitt.
Within a few days, maybe 3 or 4 days, we will have essentially the craving for most of the drugs that James has used completely obliterated. We feel our success rate is probably close to 80%.
James's first treatment will be like all the rest. Nothing more complex than a few hours a day on this drip. It may be simple, but the secret to success is in the solution.
Are you okay?
Fine. Absolutely fine.
The amino acids are the most important ingredients in the program that we're doing. We're giving the brain essentially what it wants. The treatment is making them feel almost like the substance they're using.
Amino acids are the building blocks for neurotransmitters and receptors, natural chemical messengers that trigger responses in neurons, the cells that carry signals in the brain.
Dr. Hitt's theory is that an addict's brain has a craving for higher levels of neurotransmitters than a normal person's. Illegal drugs, like cocaine, act as a chemical substitute that fulfills this need. By replacing the drug with natural neurotransmitters in the form of amino acids, Dr. Hitt can relieve this craving and with it, the desire to take drugs.
I'm in the process of preparing amino acid solutions for two of the formula that we're using. In this solution, we are able to treat addictions to crack cocaine or cocaine and also crystal methamphetamine.
James's customized cocktail of amino acids is administered intravenously. It's the first session in a 10-day treatment program. By day 4, it's crunch time.
I feel fantastic. I don't know what they're doing to me, but it seems to be working perfectly well. Usually one has dreams of like scoring in one's sleep. I haven't had anything like that. Usually I'll be throwing TVs, eating raw coffee, a lot.
What about the shakes and stuff?
Haven't had the shakes at all.
You sweats?
Sweats, no.
Wow.
Had a bit of kicking last night. No, the night before. And that usually goes on for about 2 weeks.
After the 10-day regime of amino acids, James will receive no further treatment. And 4 months later, he is still clean and sober and making plans for his new life.
For about a month afterwards, I had an amazing clarity, but I found it very difficult to communicate vocally. It's quite disorientating at first. One expects life to be sort of rather more stressful, and it isn't. It's very, very much rosier than I thought it was. I don't know what I'm going to do next, but basically it's nice to have the feeling that the world is my oyster, and it's basically time to get on with the rest of my life.
If you had a control of any kind of illness, or if you could help humanity or relieve the world a little bit of some of this stupidity, I mean, who wouldn't do this?